right, everybody, welcome. This is my tutorial on federalism, the difference between the powers held by the federal government and the state government, and then the powers that they share. To review, this all comes from the 10th Amendment. Okay, the powers held by the federal government, we call these powers enumerated. Okay, the powers held by the state governments are called reserved, and then the powers that they share together are called the concurrent powers. All right, so let's start with the federal government's powers. The federal government's powers are the things that deal with the entire country. Okay, stuff that deals with the entire nation. So things like declaring war, having the power to do the post office, regulating business between different states. So you go online, you buy a hat from Amazon and it ships from Washington, D.C. It's got to come down here to Florida. That is something that it's called interstate commerce, because it's going the money's changing hands in many states. That's something the federal government does. Foreign policy is something the federal government takes care of. Creating the currency, doing copyrights and patents. The post office is something that the entire federal government handles. Okay, that's the post office now, not UPS, not what can Brown do for you on FedEx. Okay, it is the post office, the United States Postal Service. That is something the federal government looks at. And then, of course, as we know, the federal government is the supreme law of the land. Okay, so that's the enumerated powers. Everything else, according to the 10th Amendment, is supposed to be on the state government side. So you talk about things with education, running elections, making laws dealing with like the safety of the public and stuff like that, police officers, giving out licenses like driver's licenses, marriage licenses, business licenses. When you go get your nails done or you go get your haircut at the barber, you'll see their license to do those things right near the chair, and that is something that the state of Florida gives out. My teaching license comes from the state of Florida. Okay, and then again, like I said, pretty much everything else is supposed to go to the state governments according to the 10th Amendment. One more thing with the state governments do things called intra-state commerce. Okay, so not intra. Intrastate commerce is just money moving around within the one state. So let's say you live in Miami and you go to Disney in Orlando for a vacation, your money's not leaving the state, okay? So that's called intrastate commerce. A good example to remember this is that the national government will set a minimum wage for the entire country, okay? So let's say $8.50. Each state has to have a minimum wage of at least $8.50 because the national government says so. But states can raise the minimum wage in their state. So you look at a state like California, their minimum wage is $15, right? So you can't go underneath the $8 because that's what the national government says, but the states can go above the $8, okay? And that's because of intra-state commerce, okay? So we've got federal, we've got state, the stuff they have in common: making laws, enforcing laws, punishing people who break the laws, collecting taxes, making banks that deal with that taxes, okay? And then generally promoting the general welfare. These are things that are concurrent in nature, okay? So federalism, the national government has powers, federal government has powers, and the state government have powers. The stuff they share deals with making laws, enforcing laws, punishing people who break the laws, collecting taxes, spending that money, and promoting the general welfare. This is federalism. Good luck.